Dear all, welcome you all once again for a session on concept and functions of human resource management. This unit will be dealt in two videos. In the first part, we will look at the nature and concept of human resource management, and in the second part, we will look at the functions, responsibilities of HR, as well as the skills which a HR manager need to possess in the organization. So moving forward, we will be looking at what are the objectives and what is it that you will be able to understand and take away from this unit. So after reading this, you will be able to define HRM, understand the context, scope and perspectives of HRM, describe the functions, roles and responsibilities of HR manager, and identify the skills the HR manager. Taking the first part of it, that is the concept and nature of human resource management. It is then quite clear to us that effective utilization of human resources in the organization is absolutely important to attain competitive advantage. It is also necessary for human capital. It is also necessary for the organization to move forward. And from the individual's point of view also, our individual's performance levels result in satisfying the employees, contributing for their personal growth, career growths, etc. HR in this process, that is the HR department in this process, or the HR manager more specifically, has a very significant role to play, because it is these people who will be able to identify, recruit or train people or human resources and place them in the significant places so that the productivity is being attained and the functional efficiency in the organization is maintained. And as we have observed earlier also, optimum utilization of HR is necessary for accomplishing the goals and creation of human capital. In this background, the context of HR role is absolutely significant in the process. Let's look at some of the definitions. Very famous definition is by DiCenzo and Robbins. It's a process which consists of four functions, that is acquisition, development, motivation, maintenance of human resources. So all the four major functions and responsibilities of HR manager are stated over here. Dessler's definition, if we see, it's again the process of acquiring, training, appraising, compensating employees, as well as attending to other aspects like health, labor, safety, welfare, etc. So in the Dessler's definition, we notice additional responsibilities which are being stated or given to the HR department apart from what the traditional definition has stated. In that sense, we can say that HR is actually dealing with the most valuable assets of an organization, and a strategic way of dealing with them is absolutely essential. Now, how did this HR actually evolve? It's something a concept which has gained importance or momentum in the last few decades, we should say. Prior to that also it existed, but not with the same terminology. Now, if we look back into the history of management, we will notice that we have the Taylor's scientific management principles, wherein it focused on efficiency, time, optimization, incentives. This is what the scientific management principles of Taylor try to give us. We can always identify what actually motivates an individual to achieve more or work more, and accordingly plan the performance sequences of those people in the organization. That's what Taylor had tried to say. And incentives can be managed in such a way that people may be attracted to them, and performance also happens in the process. Next, we had a few years later, after Taylor, we had the Hawthorne studies following the World War I. And here we had the rise of the informal groups, which the Hawthorne studies have highlighted. Hawthorne studies also spoke about, brought out the importance of the working conditions, the work environment, and the processes which go about in the informal group. That is the group dynamics of the which happens over within the organization. And it was observed that the informal group wields a lot of power as far as an individual is concerned, and individuals also work towards, or they strive to achieve some sort of synchronization in order to belong to this group. So the power of informal groups and group dynamics, emergence of informal leaders, and the work environment are the factors which emerged out of the Hawthorne studies, and which proved to be important for employees when they start interacting or working in the organization. Following the Hawthorne studies, we had the behavioral schools of thought. And to name just two of them, we have Maslow as well as Herzberg. We are all familiar with Maslow's theory in terms of where he spoke about the needs which operate in a hierarchical manner and which determine the behavior of the individual. So the needs actually are responsible for the individual's actions, and the type and level of action which an individual chooses are also because of the needs which are operating. That's what Maslow tried to relate. That's how Maslow tried to relate. And Herzberg's, of course, also spoke about, apart from the needs, job context in which and the job content, which are also important while performance is taking place in the organization. Subsequent to this, we had the achievement theory by McClelland. And this particular theory has become more famous initially in the Western society, but it is quite individualistic in nature. The theory is quite individualistic in nature. And they try to interpret by saying that an individual's achievement is an urge to achieve success in a competing situations, right? So if that is the case, when employees have high in achievement motive, automatically their performance levels will also be high. And when performance levels are high, it contributes to total organizational performance. But the important aspect is that how do we know that people have high achievement motive? How do we identify them? Can we develop them? Can achievement motive be developed or nurtured? And what is it that is required in order to foster this within the organization? These are the things which the achievement motivation tried to exemplify. And today, of course, we are in information technology era or digital era, so to say, wherein we have a entire e-commerce dominating our lives, and where we are services sector actually are playing a very predominant role, and the net result is product and service both have gained equal importance, and both needs to be dealt in a sophisticated, sensitive manner so that we deliver the goods properly to the society. This is where the HR task is focused in today's era, and in that sense we say that in the organization HR is playing a supportive, advisory and strategic role. Then if we look at the evolution of HR in India, we had, of course, the two pioneering theorists, Uday Parikh and T.V. Rao sirs, who have actually taken up the torch and established the HR departments as well as HR as a discipline, who are responsible for making it a discipline by itself, and where it has gained prominence in the today's organizations. And the early organizations which have actually adapted them were the public sectors, that is the BHEL, SBI, ONGC, all big public sectors had put HR, Human Resource Management Department, in the place. Now, if we notice, earlier, the title given to this department was the Personnel Department. And at that time, initially, the Personnel Department was only concerned with maintenance of records, then record keeping database, maintaining an employee database, then IR functions, leave records, service records, and any other welfare or labor related aspects, compliance with rules and regulations, etc. But with the rise of services sector, the HR has risen to its prominence because individual performance levels have started gaining significant role in the organization, and so many organizations have started giving and establishing a human resource department, human resource management department in the organizations. Or even if they have given an earlier name as personnel management, they have another wing which they titled it as either HRM or HRD, which is focusing on the developmental aspect, management and developmental aspects of the employees. So that is how the HRM has taken its birth and has established itself in the various organizations. Now, if we take the services sector, particularly in the software, in the companies, we have different terminology being used, like talent sourcing or talent management, talent acquisition, learning and development, learning resources, etc. I mean, these are the different terms which they use for HR, depicting the various functions which are being performed by them. And today we have the TVRLS, that is the T.V. Rao Learning Systems, which offer consultancy services and training services to any organization and establish any good practices which are required in their organizations. Let's take a look at this particular diagram, which will usually sum up the entire role of HR. Even though it is circular, we can begin with the right-hand side, top right-hand side, which speaks about competency mapping. So the HR starts with mapping of the competencies of its employees, places them, has a database, and identifies what are the competencies, and its promotions and future placements in the organization usually depends on that. And so this database in the form of competency mapping will be followed by the planning, manpower planning, wherein how many people are required, what is the future requirement of the organization, and who needs to be promoted, who can be promoted, who has to be transferred, or who has to be given training, etc. All those functions will be taken up with the manpower planning, and that is followed by, once we are clear as to number and type of people whom we require, we will call for some advertisements and attract the maximum number of applications. That is where the recruitment process is. How do we make people know, the best talent in the society know that we have these jobs and we want the best people to apply to our organization? That is recruitment. Then selecting the right person for the right job and placing them is the selection process, includes the selection process. And once selected, placing them on the job is the next task. Then once the employee starts working, the employee has to be paid for whatever services that are being and whatever skills that are being invested in the organization. So the compensation package, which includes salary, benefits, perks, etc. So designing this compensation package in such a way that we are competitive in nature, and at the same time we follow whatever the organizational goals or principles are in this process. Once the individual starts working, then after a few months or sometimes 1 year, at the end of the year, we would like to assess the amount, nature, quality of work that the employees have put. So the performance management system will take care of that, and designing the performance management by using the different methods is a part of it's the responsibility of HR. All these functions are possible only if the leader of the organization has a specific goal and has a sort of a mission or a vision of the organization, and is goal oriented, and all the employees follow the leader. And the effectiveness of this leader also lies in the fact that there is a very good team building which takes place, and finally a supportive culture exists within the organization. All this is possible because of that. So this is the way we can sum up the role of HR and the functions which they are actually performing. Now let's take a look going forward. Why are managers interested in the HRM functions? Definitely we would like to see an optimum level or increase in the performance levels of employees. So what is it that the organization can do to increase the performance of the employees is what the managers are always looking or asking for. Then selecting the right person. As I told you, the selection process will take place. We'll look at who should be selected, and the process of selecting the right candidate and putting him in the right place. Next important aspect, of course, is retaining the talent. It is not just attracting the talent into the organization, but motivating them and retaining them is absolutely essential. Otherwise, we will lose them for our competitors, and the organization definitely will be at a loss. So, retaining particularly scarce human resources, highly skilled human resources is very, very essential in the organization. Then, we should also be following the procedures, the legally or any compliance procedures which are there in the form of either the rules, labor laws, or the rules stipulated by either the Companies Act, Factories Act, etc., have to be followed, and the HR department has usually looks into this and managers look towards their guidance whenever there is an issue in this. And then practicing safety measures and protecting the employees of the organization is also the responsibility of the HR. Any safety, particularly in the manufacturing units, all the safety measures need to be told, training has to be given, and practice should be in place in order for the safety of its employees. And then all employees need to be trained continuously so that the learning process is continuous and they become more skilled and they are ready for higher positions in the organization very soon. Now, in this process, when it is trying to perform all these functions and responsibilities, the HR actually is related to certain aspects or concepts or processes which are quite interlinked with the entire process, HRM process itself. So in that sense, let's look at how HRM and IT are basically related, and how HRM can make use of information technology in the process. HRIS or Human Resource Information Systems can help to encourage collaboration with groups and individuals in the organization. Now today, for example, with the help of technology, we can organize group meetings when people are sitting anywhere in the world through Zoom, Google Meet, video conferencing, podcasts, Skype, etc., so that we overcome the geographical borders in this process. We can also share the spreadsheets, Excel sheets, documents, blogs, and immediately the responses can be recorded or can be obtained so that work moves on very quickly. That's the way IT is enabling the HR functions to take place. It has resulted in more connected way with which people are connected, and so highly productivity levels of the employees have also risen because of that. And it is also observed that collaborative efforts increase the accountability, and teams, when they are deliberately formed and chosen, that is where the members choose each other's, definitely there is a lot of empowerment and productivity levels are very high. And very popular softwares, in terms of payrolls or SAS and several other softwares are being used by the organizations to be successful and to maintain their edges, so to say. The next point or next aspect where the HRM is closely related or needs to put in place is the competency building in the organization. Even though this aspect has been touched upon earlier also, we would just reiterate it. Like, for example, at the beginning we have the resources, and here when we say resources, we are speaking with reference to human resources. And human resources have got distinctive capabilities or competencies in the form of unique skills, abilities, intellect, knowledge levels, etc., which usually result in differentiation of the organization or cost advantage to the organization. And this sort of an advantage is what has created a value creation for the organization. And in another sense, it is also contributing for the USP of the organization, wherein the human resources become the strength and pillars of functioning with unique skills to perform. That's where the competitive advantage is also attained. Another important area where the relationship of HRM is with performance management. Basically, any and all the HR practices or HR policies, they are supposed to facilitate the performance in the organization. Okay. Now, while they are facilitating the performance, this sort of performance, how do we see to it that the desired and the ideal performance levels exist and human beings achieve that target? So going down, okay, we can start with what is called as performance planning. So what is it that has to be achieved by the organization? If we start looking at it, then we will be able to do something called as activity analysis or task analysis. So we break down the task into several units which are measurable, reachable, attainable, etc. And we simplify the task and attach a timeline to that. And in this process, some tasks we will identify as being highly important and critical. Okay, it's not every task is important in the organization, but some tasks are more critical in the process. And who are those people who are actually managing those critical areas? What sort of people need to be placed over there, etc. So if we are able to identify the key performance areas, that is KPAs as they are called, as the critical areas, that is, then the key result areas. So there are also certain areas which we consider as crucial, and that is where the output or the final output actually exists. And that is where we speak about the KRAs. So the task for the HR is to simplifying and trying to identify the tasks and planning the entire task sequence, so to say, positioning the people in the right places, then role clarity, goal setting, performance, and output measurement. So HR takes the responsibility for all these aspects, and that is where the performance of the organization actually takes place. A very related and again aspect with regard to HRM is the leadership management. So when we speak with reference to leadership, the task of the HR is to develop leadership skills in people. And when people move from one position to another position, we should also try to develop the type of skills which are required for the employees, so that they become prepared and they're ready to occupy roles which are higher in responsibilities and authority. So knowledge levels needs to be increased. Some personality traits also have to be increased or improved upon when people move from different rank authorities. Socrates, in olden times itself, Socrates suggested the following steps of a successful leader. That is, selecting the right man for the right job, and that is our selection principle, which plays an important role today also. Then rewarding the good and punishing the bad. Reward management, yes, today we do have a lot to say as far as the rewarding the good action or activity is concerned, reinforcing the good behavior of the person is absolutely essential. Then a leader should also win the goodwill of the entire team members. He cannot have an antagonism or hatred from any of his subordinates. That will actually create a dent in the group functioning. Right? And at the same time, he should be in a position or open for alliances, that is any sort of merging with any outside groups, so that the strength will increase. And hard work. A leader should always be working very hard, diligently and efficiently to fulfill their responsibilities. And some examples we can say is where these practices are present are Infosys and Reliance. These are the two companies where this sort of principles and practices are in place, and the leadership churning and molding is taking place, so to say. HRM needs to be receptive to the type of changes which are happening. So as change management, as we observe, plays an important role for HRM. And the responsibility lies for the HR is to initiate the change management, then make employees adapt to that, is prepare them for the change process and adapt them to that, etc. Then an important dimension which has gained some sort of an importance of late is the work-life balance. So facilitating some of the changes in the policies so that employees experience work-life balance, then facilitating the culture change for employees, then planning for their careers, competency mapping, managing the cultural diversity, improving creativity are some of the examples which we can look at wherein HR is involved in managing the change process in the organization. Another angle is HRM and the internationalization. As we all know, globalization, liberalization policies have made trade free and inclusiveness as one of the factors. So what are the issues for HR? The issues for HR are how to manage the workforce who are working abroad, how to manage the laws, rules, regulations and apply them there. Then designing programs on international management and cross-cultural training. How to compensate those employees on an equity basis. These are the concerns, these are the issues with which an HR is concerned, particularly when management decides to open offices in other continents or places abroad. And today HRM has to focus on transnational scope, that is boundaryless organizations, then transnational representation, MNCs, where we have got representation from several organizations, and transnational processes where diverse cultures exist, and so we have to bring them all into one unified way of functioning. In this entire process, when HRM is working or very closely with the help of IT, then it is focusing on performance management, then the leaders need to play a pivotal role. Then in the total functioning of the organization, HRM plays a strategic role, we can say. And how are we focusing on this strategic role, so to say? Basically, we would like to focus on improving the business performance, some business benefits in the form of early delivery, no free errors, etc. And maximizing the engagement of the employee engagement processes and simplifying the people management activities in the organization. One example we can take is that of Accenture, where the HR plays the following roles of a business advisor, participates in decision making, and makes decisions and plans, where HR and the top management work together and highlight the capabilities of the workforce so that they deliver the business objectives in the right time and place. And as a change leader, they understand the behavior of people in the organizations, communication processes, change management, and able to lead leadership in the process and manage very, very effectively. And they also function as a functional expert in terms of updating the knowledge, identifying trends, tools, software, e-learning, etc., and establish clear service arrangements, maintain databases, then design rewards, etc. So all these aspects are being, all these functions are being performed by the HR managers. And today in many organizations, just like we have got accounting for finance or in the area of finance, similarly there is another aspect which has been identified, and that is the human resource accounting. So here organizations account for the available human resources in a quantified manner. How does it go about? So basically, they will show the progression in terms of knowledge, skills, upgradation, skill building which has taken place over a period of time. And another aspect to this is where they account for people. That is the investment that is being done from the organization's point of view in terms of the salary, maintenance costs, vis-a-vis the return of investment which is being obtained from the individual. They also make assessment in terms of replacement costs, then the economic value of people, etc. And it also assesses the intellectual capital of the organization because it helps in future business expansions. And again, BHEL, Infosys, Reliance were almost the first companies which have tried to mention this in the early times. Closely related to accounting, we have got a human resource audit. Here, audit is basically a process of check, and here an assessment of the service excellence or product is being done. And an audit is done as to how close are they to the goals or targets that have been framed or formulated, and try to suggest improvements in productivity and efficiency levels, and prepare the organization for future change, and also guide in transforming certain styles of management to achieve efficiency in the process. Okay. And this is being done in 5 phases in a very systematic manner. The pre-audit, where the actual information is present, that is where what are the objectives, how much have they achieved, and where are the gaps. At the second stage, wherein they look at the actuals in the form of informations. Third stage, the pre-audit self-assessment takes place, wherein people try to identify as to where they are, how far they are from the goals, etc. Then the record review and the audit report takes place. So this is how we can say that HR plays a very crucial role in today's business environment, and it focuses, with the help of IT, it focuses on performance management, change management, and building an efficient role models or leaders in the organization, and tries to build human capital, and tries to show that the human resources are the assets in the organization to achieve excellence in the businesses. Thank you.